Okay, guys, super excited about this message. I know it's going to be a blessing to somebody. The name of it is going to be called Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, that probably sounds familiar. We know that Disney has a series of movies called Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, the name of this sermon, once again, is called Pirates of the Caribbean. Not Caribbean, the Caribbean. And I know some of y'all are thinking, what in the world? Just hold on. I'm not going to explain now why I'm calling it that. You got to wait to the end to see why I'm calling it Pirates of the Caribbean. But I promise you, you're gonna love it. So just hold on. Wait till I get to the end. You'll see. It's awesome. You just gotta wait. So so as you can tell, I'm gonna have some fun with this one. So Pirates of the Caribbean. What is this about? This is who this message is for. This message is for people who you have been taken advantage of because of your insecurities in past relationships, and now you're trying to figure out how to deal with the aftermath or the after effect of allowing someone to take advantage of your insecurities and basically playing off of your insecurities in your past relationships. And you may be thinking, well, what exactly do you mean? I'm gonna share some things that has happened with me in my past, and I think it's something that's gonna help you not only understand, but to get a bigger, broader picture of what this is about. Let me say this real quick. This kind of ties into some things that I was talking about last week in my sermons, because if you remember last week, I had a series, a two-part series called Ladies and Gentlemen. And I had a part one and a part two. And in the sermons, I was basically talking about how we individually, sometimes we have things that God has to work on in us while we're single to prepare us for the relationship. Not get in the relationship that he has for you and then, try to figure it out while things are falling apart, but rather let him work on you now before that, because a lot of the things that may be a problem is insecurities, having insecurities that stem from things of the past and this, that, and the other. Well, in this sermon, I'm hitting on insecurities, but really what I'm talking about is not necessarily about the relationships to come, but this is for the people who, in your past relationships, people have taken advantage of you because of your insecurities or try to play off of your insecurities, and it really hurt you, and you're concerned about the aftermath. In other words, what I mean is this: you now realize that there are people who may know things about you now, may know about your secrets or your insecurities or your fears. And even though you may not know who all knows, you know that there are people that know, and now you're a bit paranoid and fearful because you're worried about people who enter into your life now and try to get close to you. You're worried about whether or not they're the real deal or whether or not they're just someone who has heard things about you, heard things about your insecurities, heard things about how you were strung along and taken advantage of, and you're wondering if these people are there because they really care or really want to get to know you, or you're worried about if they're getting close to you so that they can use you, they can take advantage of you, they can play off of your insecurities as well. And so there's this aftermath that you're dealing with, these extra fears and extra insecurities that you now have because you feel like you've been exposed by someone who has done you wrong. So that's what this is about. And you might be thinking, well, I don't know if this is for me, but just listen to the examples I'm about to give based off of what I've gone through. And after you hear this, you might say, well, wait a minute, some of this does apply to me, or I know someone who has gone through something similar and they need this message. So let me explain this. And it'll make sense for those that are following along in the word. Go ahead and turn to Psalms chapter 27. But before I get far into it, let me give you these examples of what I'm talking about. So here's what I've gone through. So check this out. Since 2013, I've been celibate, or rather abstinent might be the better word. I've been abstinent. In other words, I made a decision to do what I felt was right. I made the decision to start to wait for marriage for sex, right? So I started 2013, and this is early 2018. So that makes this a little over 5 years now that I've been waiting on sex till marriage, right? Okay. So there have been times that it's been tough, and the reason why is this right here. The reason why is because I've had times in the past where I've been insecure about it. Not that I didn't want to do it, because I feel like it's the right thing and it's an honor to do for the Lord, but insecure because there have been times where I felt like there would be people who, not that I'm worried about what people think, but it's like I feel like I would be overlooked. In other words, it's as if I felt like there would be great people that would come along, and they may want to get to know me, but when they find out that I'm not going to just give it up right away and that I'm waiting till marriage, they would just kind of move on. And there were times where I would start to get to know other women, and that would be the case. You know, like like literally this one time somebody actually messaged me, and they were asking me out, and they were like legit serious. And I felt the need to let them know up front, okay, but I'm just letting you know now in case you don't know, I'm the type of person, I'm trying to wait till marriage for sex. So I'd like to let people know up front if there's a possibility of something, happening between us, a relationship. So I just thought I'd let you know up front. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I kid you not, they totally acted like they did not just ask me out. They were like, oh no, I think you misunderstood. No, never mind. I mean, you talk about taking a 180, boy. They just acted like they didn't just. And I'm sitting up there, like I scrolled back up and looked at the conversation we had just had seconds ago. I'm like, no, this really just happened. We really had this conversation, and now you're acting like we did not just have this conversation. I didn't say it, but in my mind, I'm looking and I'm like, looking at the computer screen, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, hold on. But it just tripped me out. But anyway, there were instances where I just felt like really insecure. And so anyway, let me get on to it. So what ended up happening was this. I started talking to someone, and like I said, this is over the past 5.5 year span. And so I'm about to share something with you, and I'm being careful with what all I say, because I'm not trying to like put someone on blast or try to make somebody look bad. So I'm being very careful with what all I'll say. Even though I'm telling you things, I'm being picky about what I say and how I say certain things, to not give too much of certain information away. So, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to throw somebody under the bus and make somebody look bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fake name, right, for this person that I'm about to mention. I'm going to call her Carmen. I'm going to act like her name is Carmen, okay? So go with me on this. So this is what happened. I started talking to this woman. I'll call her Carmen for the sake of this message. And we started talking, and we were getting really close. And it was as if we were in a relationship, but it was never made official, because she didn't want it to be, an official thing where people knew. She just kind of wanted to keep things low. So it was pretty much, it got to be where it was pretty much like we were in a relationship, because we were so close. We spent time together. We even threw a few I love yous out there eventually. Whenever she was not at work, she wanted to spend time with me. And then when we were apart, we would text each other a lot. And just to give you an idea of what I mean, here's this. You know how when you text people, your phone divides the different texts that you sent to different people up by individual threads. Like, okay, this thread is your conversation with this person. This thread is your conversation with that person, blah, blah, blah. And your phone will tally up, or at least on some phones, I don't know, but on my phone anyway, your phone will tally up the total amount of text sent back and forth between you and another person until you like delete that thread of messages. And so anyway, I could see how many messages we were sending, and I'll just put it to you this way. We were so much about just talking to each other and staying in contact so much that over just the first few weeks of us talking, we literally uh we literally sent over 1,000 text messages a week to each other total. Over 1,000 a week was sent back and forth total for like the first few weeks. That's just how much we were just really getting close. So it seemed all right. It seemed like she was very persistent. She really wanted to, get to know me, get close to me, spend time with me. And it just seemed like, it was going to be kind of good. But then, even though she knew up front what I was about, she knew I was waiting for marriage, all of a sudden it was like she began to try to tempt me into messing around with her, and I wouldn't. And when I didn't, it was like she got really offended, really mad. It was like she took it personally, even though she knew up front what the deal was. So what began to happen was she would start to venture out and go online and meet people. And what she would do was she would start to get to know other guys and go out on dates with them and try to start this sudden out of nowhere relationship with these guys. And so she would like bring them up in conversations, or on social media she would post pictures of her and some guy. And she would do this. And at first, even though I knew it was something she was doing to make me feel bad, to try to make me feel jealous, to try to get me to put out to her, almost as if to say, hey, you're going to risk losing me if you don't, put out to me, because there's somebody else, that's willing. Even though I knew it, there was still a part of me that wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. And so I just chose to look at it as, well, maybe she's just hurting. Maybe she's upset that I didn't give her what she wanted. And eventually, she'll not be upset, and she'll stop what she's doing, and we'll start connecting again. Like, that's how I reasoned it. And that did happen. Eventually she would stop talking to other folks, and it was like we would reconnect. But it would keep happening. She would keep doing it. She would try to tempt me more and tempt me more, and when it didn't work, she would just try to run off to somebody else and do things to purposely throw it in my face that she's seeing someone else. And so it got to the point where I had to see the big picture. Like, okay, here's reality. It's like she's trying to play off of my insecurity here, because she knows my insecurity, because when you get close to somebody, you open up to them and you let them know sometimes your fears, or your secrets, or your insecurities, or what upsets you, what does this, what does that. And so I would never try to like call her out on it. I didn't want to make her feel bad, but I would see what was going on. And so what I began to do is I began to detach from her more and more. And I would even tell her, listen, I've got to detach from you. So it got to the place where we were just like regular friends that weren't, talking in that in that sort of context. And it got to a point where I ended up having to detach even more, to where we were just more just associates, if you will. Like, if we see each other out in the street somewhere, hey, how you doing? Small talk, but then move on. In other words, not even to the point where we would just hang out as friends and go out and do stuff as friends anymore. But a couple of things ended up happening. One of the things was this. This one day I was just thinking about it, and I was like, I did look at this correctly, didn't I? I did go about this the right way to detach. It really was that she was trying to make me jealous and try to play off my insecurities, right? That wasn't in my head. That's really what was going on, right? And so I was just pondering on it. And eventually I ended up having a dream this one particular night, and this is what happened in the dream, and it was confirmation to me that I was on point. In this dream, I was dancing with Carmen, right? And you know how couples, romantic couples, they get close and kind of hold each other and kind of do the romantic slow dance, And I'm holding her here, down here, and she's holding me, up here, And so we're kind of dancing, and I do the thing where sometimes like for example if it's a guy and a girl dancing, the guy will take the girl's hand and raise the hand up and then do this to like spin her around, and that's what the woman does. She spins around, and after the spinning, they hold each other again and get back to the regular dance routine. I spun her around, and it was all romantic, or it felt sweet and romantic, right? Well, all of a sudden in my dream, this guy comes up, takes Carmen by the hand, and he starts mimicking and trying to do the same dance with her, and he spins her around, but he keeps spinning her. He keeps spinning, and while he's spinning, he's looking at me like look, like I can do this too. And he's smiling and she's smiling. So in the dream, my reaction was, oh, okay, they're just being funny. That's how I felt in the dream. Like, okay, whatever. They're just, being funny, whatever. Well, then it fast forwarded to another moment where me and Carmen are dancing again. It's another romantic time. And I did the thing where, sometimes the guy might dip the girl down, like he's holding her and then he does this to kind of dip her down, and she just kind of goes back, right? And then comes back up, right? And it was, felt romantic, like, oh, that's sweet, Well, all of a sudden, here comes that same guy again out of nowhere. And this time he's really showing his true colors. He just yanks her, grabs her away, and he's grabbing her like he's gonna dance, but he starts dipping her, and he keeps doing it. He just keeps dipping, and he's all rough and aggressive with her, just dipping. And while he's doing this, he's looking at me with this like angry, overly competitive look on his face. Now, in some dreams, I may talk, other people may talk, but in a lot of dreams, a lot of which are like more silent dreams, people will say something in themselves, not out loud though, but even though they may be saying something to me in themselves, I can hear what they're saying to me in me. So it's like I can feel or sense what they're saying just by making eye contact with them in the dream. And this happens a lot, quite a bit regularly sometimes in dreams that I have. It's like I just look at somebody and I it's like I hear it, what they're saying, but I hear it in me. It's like my spirit knows what they're saying just from me looking at them. So when I was looking into his eyes, it was like I could sense him saying, I'm better at this than you are. Since I'm this big guy, I'm better at this. I can dance with her better. I'm better at you. And he had this anything you can do, I can do better type attitude to himself. So he wasn't doing what he was doing to just be funny. It was at first, but it was like it was as if it was a joke, but it was more of like an inside joke that was against me versus a joke that I was supposed to be in on. So when they didn't get the reaction that they thought that they would, which would be me like trying to snatch her back and being like, right, being overly aggressive and tough and competitive, and I'm still gentle and caring, and they didn't get this big reaction out of me where I could be easily manipulated. It was like he had to come back again and show his true colors. Like, no, I was being funny at first, but now I'm serious and I'm showing you that, that I'm better than you, and And so I see that in his face, and I look at her as she's just cheesing. And the vibe that I got was she was enjoying this. She was enjoying the fact that somebody was coming and trying to show off and say, oh, I'm the better one. And it was like she was waiting on me to like basically almost literally fight with this guy. But I'm standing there thinking, I don't, why? If you're mine, you're mine. So You know, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, why do I want to be enemies with this guy? I don't know who he is. Like, it's not even an issue of being afraid. I don't know who he is, and I don't understand why he's here, and I don't understand why, you're letting him throw you around like a rag doll. It's not even like you're fighting him and you want me to rescue you. It's like you guys are in on this together. You know what I mean? That was how I'm feeling seeing this. And the thing that I said in myself was, whatever, I don't want to be a part of this. And I just turned and just walked off, like, whatever. And that was the end of the dream. So for me, that was confirmation that my suspicions were correct. But I also saw that I was correct for walking away and detaching, because that's exactly what I needed to do for my own spiritual health. But what I see in this, and what I want you to see, is the playing of insecurities, not just even just the playing of my insecurity, but check this out. You see insecurities in all three of us, really, because for the girl Carmen, you see the insecurities because she craves attention so much, and she craves control so much, and she craves the ability to try to manipulate so much that she's playing. She's insecure, which is why she's doing this, but she's playing off of his insecurities, just like how she's trying to play off of mine. Because, see, he's insecure because he feels like what's going to make him tough and more of a man is not only to be overly competitive and overly aggressive, but the fact that he has to try to compete with or compete against another woman, and that making him feel more of a man really shows the severity of his insecurity, right? That's his way of proving himself, is to try to purposely take something or somebody that he sees might belong to somebody else, and so that makes him feel empowered to say, well, I'm the bigger one of the two of us, and I'm the guy, so what you gonna do about this? You know what I mean? Like, I could see him coming up against another guy his size or bigger, but to go after somebody that's smaller and just be like, you know what I mean? That just shows how desperate he is to feel tough, or to feel like, like a tough guy. So there's insecurity on his part. And since they're in on it together, she's playing off of his insecurities. And here's what I realized. It's kind of like the saying, hurt people hurt people. In other words, if somebody's been hurt, they feel better by trying to hurt someone else. Well, sometimes, and this is what I've realized, sometimes insecure people play off of the insecurities of others. So hurt people hurt people. Insecure people play off the insecurities of others. She's insecure. She takes advantage of his insecurities by dragging him into this, knowing that he's going to act the way that he is, and she's going to enjoy it. You see my insecurity because at first I just kind of blow it off instead of seeing it for what it was the first go around in the dream. But the second go around, where he showed his true colors and I had no choice but to see reality, that's when I had to come to terms and finally get out of my feelings and insecurities and walk away. So that's what I want you to see. That's what I want you to understand, is there are people who, maybe for you, you've had that. You've had people in relationships who played off or tried to play off of insecurities that, if you're honest, are there, and they may have tried to play off of others as well. But here's the other thing that ended up happening. One of my favorite things to pray is that God guides my footsteps, because I find that there will be times where I will find myself at the right place at the right time to see something or hear certain conversations. And this one time, this is what happened. I got to know a particular fella who reminded me a lot of myself. And some of you probably had that happen, where you meet somebody and it's just like, man, like, it seems like me and you came out the same womb at the same time or something. Are we like distant, long lost twins that look absolutely nothing alike, but still, you know what I mean? But still though, really, you remind me of me. And what ended up happening was one day I was somewhere, I won't say where, but I was at a public place, and I just so happened to walk up while these two people were having a conversation, and this is what I found out. So this guy that I was getting to know, who reminded me of me, he had just started working at a particular place, at this particular place that I was at, this public place. He had just recently started working there. He'd only been there a few weeks. And what I learned from this conversation was, evidently Carmen had started talking to him similar to how she used to just talk to me. And they had been getting close, and they had been texting a lot. And she was not making anything official with him, kind of like how she didn't quite make things official with me, but didn't mind hurrying up and making something official with somebody else, which is what she was doing in this situation. And I heard that the text messages that Carmen and this guy had been sending to each other, Carmen was sharing those texts with other people, including people that the guy worked with. So here he is, fairly new in this place, and there are other people that work with him who want to get to know him. And a lot of girls look at him as this really good looking guy. So they're talking to him, they're getting to know him, but they're hearing things about him and seeing text messages from Carmen. And of course, she can give her version of how things are playing out. And my mind is blown, because one of the things that I had been wondering was, who knows? In other words, I had this feeling, this strange feeling, that even though she wanted things to be under wraps, I had this feeling that she was sharing information with people in the background, so to speak. In other words, even though I was supposed to keep quiet about us talking, she was talking to some folks about me and sharing information, but basically giving her version of how things were playing out. And she was basically trying to manipulate how people perceived me. And so there was a period where, if there was somebody who was talking to me or getting close to me that I thought knew her, I couldn't help but to be a little bit suspicious at first of what's going on. See what I'm saying? Like, what do they know about me? What has she tried to tell them about me? What has she exposed about me? And what is she saying that's not quite true? So I went through that paranoia for a while. And so when I heard this particular conversation that showed that she was doing somebody similar to how she had done me, it was like confirmation that my suspicions were probably correct. Because if she's sharing stuff that she's not supposed to be sharing about this guy that she's talking to, she's probably been doing the same with me. And so that was a big wake-up call for me at that moment. And I had a reality check about insecurities and how it's important to overcome them and not let people try to play you off of your insecurities, and that you have to be secure enough in yourself to walk away from certain situations early versus staying in certain situations or relationships or so-called relationships where people do things. They try to make you jealous. They try to guilt you. They try to do things to take advantage of you. And when they don't get what they want, they become manipulative. And you keep trying to work it out, which is an insecurity in itself. And that's not spiritually healthy for you. So that was something I had to deal with. I wanted to share that. But there may be some listening and they're realizing this is something that I've gone through, or something that I went through but didn't fully recover from, or I know somebody who's going through this. And I'm sure there may be people listening who know people who are going through this, and maybe you've tried to tell them, like, hey, that person, they're manipulative, they're taking advantage of you, they're taking advantage of your weakness or your insecurities, or your uncomfortableness or whatever. So maybe you or them need this, but if what I said has applied to you or someone and you're thinking, well, how did you get past that? How did you get past those feelings? How did you overcome these insecurities? And how did you deal with the aftermath of feeling how you felt? Now, in Psalms 27, I want to start at verse 3. I'm going to explain this. I'm going to answer it for you. Psalms 27, verse 3. Now, let me say this. I want you to imagine that you're on a TV show, okay? And you're on a stage, and there are bright lights shining down on you, okay? Now, there's a crowd of people out all around. There's a crowd, people all in sitting in chairs watching you, right? But because it's so dimly lit out there, because they put the lights down low on the people and brighten the lights on you, you see that there are faces, but you can't see the faces. You can't make out the faces. So there are people watching you, a crap ton of people watching, but you don't get to distinguish who they are because you can't see them up close, and it's their faces are darkly lit. But they all see you. You're on the stage, you're on display. And up above you, they've got these screens where when the cameramen zoom in on you, it takes your face, the video footage of your face, because they're zoomed in on you. It takes those images, and they have the images or the video footage of your face on these screens, on these big screens. So that way the people that are really far back can still see your face up close, because the cameramen are zoomed in on your face and they see your zoomed in face on the enlarged screens up above you. So everybody sees you up close and personal. The lights are on you. You see people looking at you, but you can't see the people looking at you, if that makes sense. And over here you have the host of the show. And the host has the microphone, and the host directs the show. The host gets to come up to you and ask you questions. They've got their card with the questions on them. They can ask you what they want. They can ask how they want. And they can interrupt your answers. They can say, well, we're out of time, or we got to go to commercial break. They can try, if they want to twist what you say and try to make it sound like you're saying something other than what you're really saying in your answers. So they have to control this interview with you, and they can kind of sort of control how people in the audience perceive you and how they react to you. So even though you would think it's a moment that's about you because the spotlight is on you, the host of the show is taking advantage of the fact that they're the host, and they're taking control, and they're really making it be more so about them and about what they think of you. And the goal is to make the people in the audience perceive you in a certain way. And now you're standing there realizing that you've been had. You thought this was a special moment for you because you were on the stage with the lights on you, but really, you feel like all eyes are on you, and you feel exposed. The brighter the lights get, the more you feel exposed, and you feel vulnerable. And the fact that there are so many people watching, it stings. But the fact that you don't know who all is seeing you in your vulnerable moments is what stings the most, because they're in the background. What I'm saying is this, and I'm using that as an example to say this: that's what's happened for you. In other words, the person that you may have had a relationship with, who tried to play off of your insecurities in one way or another, it was as if they were the host of a show and you were a part of the show, but you didn't really realize you were a part of the show until it was too late. It's like you realize it and you realize the spotlight's on you, but then as soon as you realize that, you also have to realize this is not a good thing, because I've been had. The person that was trying to control or manipulate you is the host. And they've gotten information out of you. They've seen you at your weakest. And now you realize that there are people that have been watching you in the dark. In other words, the host has gotten info out of you, but the host is making sure that the info that you put out is being relayed to people that you can't see. So now when the whole thing is over and you get off the stage and you walk out of the studio and people come up to you or you see people looking at you, now you're wondering, well, were they one of the people in the crowd? What do they know about me? Somebody comes up and talks to you. They want to be your friend. They want to do something with you. They want to hang out. They want to ask you out on a date or something. And now you're wondering, well, why, why now? Why, you know what I mean? Now you're suspicious. So now you're extra insecure because you don't know what people have heard about you. You don't know what people are expecting. So you feel some type of way. So now you don't know if you can really trust anybody. One moment you were ready for love. The next moment you're just like, I don't know now. I don't want to risk going through what I went through again. I don't want somebody else that knows my insecurities and tries to plug into them and tries to string me along like this person just did, like the host just did, putting me on the spotlight and I don't know it. Putting my name, my real name out there. You see what I'm saying? People are watching. I don't know. So, with that said, let me say this. Here in the Bible, when it says host, it doesn't mean host by our context. When it says host, it really doesn't even mean one person. It means like a group of people, a body of people, more specifically like an army or, like a troop of men or something. So to be encamped by a host means to be encamped by like a group. So if you're encamped by the enemy, you're encamped by a group of people that are against you, probably wanting to battle you or something. Okay. But even though that's what it means here, for the sake of this message, to get the point across, I want you to pretend with me that when it says host, that it means a particular person and that this person is your host of the show that you were on. In other words, it represents the person who was trying to play off your insecurities, okay? So that's what we're going to pretend. Just go with me on this. I know it's weird, but just go with me. Psalms 27 verse 3 says, though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. So David here is saying, even though there's a host that's coming up against me, my heart shall not fear. What you have to understand is you've got to acknowledge the fear, the doubt, the insecurities that are within. And what you have to do is you have to do what David did here. In other words, you don't have to pretend that what's going on isn't going on. You acknowledge it, but you say, you know what? I know what's happening. I know there's a host, so to speak, against me. But I'm not going to fear the aftermath. I'm not going to fear this result. I'm not going to fear of what's being said about me. I'm not going to fear the rumors. I'm not going to fear people who may be trying to get close to me for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to have this paranoia in me. I will not have fear in my heart. We know that God doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. And perfect love cancels out fear. And perfect love comes from our perfect God. God is love. So what am I getting at here? You have to declare it. You've got to speak it. Speak this over yourself. You say it out loud. Seriously, right now. Say it right now. I will not have fear in my heart. I shall not fear. Here, I'll help you out. I do like the TV preachers do when they say, look at your neighbor and say blah, blah, blah. Right? Look at your neighbor and say, I shall not fear. Some of you might be thinking, well, I ain't got nobody sitting beside me. Well, touch your imaginary friend. Look over at your imaginary friend and say, I shall not have fear in my heart. Just say it. Just say it. Anyway, but you get my point. Y'all know me. I know I got to have fun throughout the sermon somewhere. It's a serious message, but I gotta have a moment to just kind of be funny. But anyway, verse 4. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. Now, did you see that sudden transition from verse 3 to verse 4? David goes from talking about what he knows the enemy is doing against him in verse 3, and then in verse 4 he starts talking about God. But here's the thing that you need to see. It's not like he talked about what the enemy was doing, and then in the next verse he talked about what he was hoping God would do, or what he knew God would do about the enemy. He jumped from verse 3 talking about the enemy to verse 4. It's as if he completely forgot there was an enemy. He completely forgot there was a host encamped about him. He went from talking about the problem to all of a sudden just talking about God and how he desires God, and he seeks him, and he wants to be in the house of the Lord, and he wants to behold his beauty. It's like he, in just one move of a verse, he just totally forgot about the problem. It was such an instant transition in his thought, is what I'm saying. And that's the next thing. Not only speaking the right things over yourself and your heart, but things to do with your mind, how you look at things, how you think about things. You have to have that sudden transformation in your mind, where you go from focusing on the enemy and the problems to focusing on God and his beauty and his awesomeness and his glory and his amazingness, his strength, his might, his power, his valor, all of it, his virtue. You gotta focus on God. Don't focus so much on the issue, lest you make the issue bigger than what it really is. Focus on God. But I love how he starts out by saying, one thing have I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after him. Desiring God is seeking after him. You may have been in a position where, when you were still in that relationship and you were still super insecure and you wanted to do all that you could do to keep that relationship together, you may have spent a lot of time desiring that person or seeking after that person, even though you saw how they were doing you. Even though you saw they were doing you wrong, you still tried to find ways to desire and seek after them. But not only should you transition from focusing on that problem to God, but you have to have it made up in your mind that you are not going to pursue them anymore. That you're not going to even desire them in your heart. So you're not going to seek after them, but you're not going to desire them. You're not going to seek with your mind or desire with your heart the host. Verse 5. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. David is saying that he's going to be hidden in his in God's pavilion, and he's going to be in a secret place. But then God will set him on a rock. What I want you to get out of this is this. You may feel overlooked. And when I say you may have felt overlooked, I mean, this can go with relationships or really anything in your life. This is what I mean. Maybe over the years you have felt like you've been overlooked. Kind of like how I felt like I was going to be overlooked because I wanted to do things the right way by God. Maybe you felt like you were going to be overlooked. In other words, you felt like people would not see that your relationship material. You may have felt like, well, I'm not perfect, but I know I'm a good person. I know, I'm a Christian and I follow Christ, and I know that there's a good godly person for me, but it just seems like I'm so overlooked. People just, overlook me. I think I made a connection with somebody and they just go right around me to somebody else. And if something does seem to play out, I get done wrong and then they move on so quickly while I'm still hurting. I don't understand. Or it could be other areas of your life as well. Maybe you're somebody who you've worked hard at the same job and you've waited on promotion, or you've been at different jobs where you've worked hard and you've been overlooked for those promotions. Or maybe you've been in a group where you've got talented people, but you never really get the chance to showcase your talent. Or when you do, people act like it wasn't a big deal. You know, maybe you're around people that sing or play instruments and you never get the solo, even though you know you can play it better than the next person, and you don't even mean it in an arrogant way. People even tell you, man, that should be you. The person playing the solo will tell you it should be you, but for some reason, right, you got to help the person that's doing the solo. You know what I mean? But for some reason, you keep getting overlooked for the opportunities. So you keep thinking, why do I keep getting overlooked? Maybe you were somebody who you grew up in a household with other siblings, and maybe you made really good grades, and maybe you excelled in certain extracurricular activities, and maybe you did it just as good, if not better, than other siblings. But it seemed like the other siblings got the recognitions, they got the pat on the backs, they got the good compliments, whatever. I don't know. And maybe then in your adult life it affected you even later. I don't know. I don't know if it's recent things from the past that have come back to haunt you. I don't know. But maybe somewhere in your life you feel so overlooked. You keep thinking, when is it my turn? But let me tell you something. It's not that you're overlooked. Well, no, let me say this again. It's not so much that you're not that you are overlooked. It's more that God is hiding you. That's what this is. You are being kept hidden and kept a secret by the Lord. And he's preparing you for such a time as this. Now, you might be saying that doesn't make sense, because if I'm overlooked by people and these people clearly see me, how can you say I'm hidden? That doesn't make sense. Here's what you got to understand, and this is what I've come to realize over time. When God hides you, the people that need to see you, not only could it be that they've seen you, they may be seeing you now, and they may even be seeing you on a regular basis, but even though they see you, they still don't see you. Even though they see you, you're still hidden when it comes to God. Let me put it to you this way. They may see you, they may even talk to you, but they may not see what's in you. They don't see what God sees in you. In other words, God will allow them to oversee or look over or look past the goodness, because he doesn't want them to attach to you at all, or he doesn't want them to attach to you just yet. Because some people will attach and have hidden agendas. They have the wrong reasons. They'll take advantage of you in worse ways than what someone already probably has. Or maybe they'll try to purposely abuse your goodness. Or maybe they'll see it, but they'll get jealous and try to downplay what you've got going on. There's different reasons for different things. People purposely misleading you in the wrong direction because of the goodness that they see. They don't want to be overshadowed. Like I said, different reasons for different things. But my point is, they can see you but still not really see you, is my point. You can still be hidden. But when the right time comes, it'll be as if you are set upon a rock. In other words, you will go from being hidden by God to it's like ta-da, and it's like you're standing tall above everybody, even though you might be the shortest person, because of the insight and the vision that God has given you. Because God lets what's in you be made sing to people now. And people are like, wow, I didn't know you had that in you. There are some people that when the time is right and God does not keep you hidden anymore and you're exposed in a good way. Because see, you've had hosts try to expose you in a negative way. But when God brings you out of his hiding place and he exposes you, but exposes you the good way, exposes the goodness in you, exposes the gifts and talents and abilities he's put in you. When he exposed what's really there in you, not how people have tried to make you look, but when he shows people the real you, when he shuts the mouths of the naysayers and say, no, this is who my child really is. When that happens, when he does that, there will be people that will be mind blown and say, I didn't see that in him. And here's the interesting thing. Some of the people that'll say, oh, I didn't see that in you. They didn't see it in you because they weren't trying to look in you. They were looking on the outside of you. They were looking at your outer appearance and they weren't thinking much of you, but when they see what's in you, the way that they'll say it is, I didn't know you had that in you. And they couldn't know what was in you because they only looked at what was going on outside of you. They couldn't see the goodness within. So they try to sound deep at first and try to say, man, ain't nothing to them. Ain't nothing going on in them, while they're looking on the outside of you, talking about ain't nothing going on good in you. Right? See what I'm saying? But then when the truth comes out, it's like, wow. So don't feel distraught. Don't feel overlooked. Maybe you're being hidden and being prepared for such a time as this. So wait on your moment of elevation, or as it says here, the moment where you're set upon a rock. Go with me to Philippians chapter 1. Starting at the beginning, look at this. It says, Paul and Timotheus, the servants of Jesus Christ, to all the saints in Christ Jesus, which are at Philippi with the bishops and deacons. Grace be unto you, and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, all making request with joy for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. Being confident of this very thing, that he which begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. This is Paul, the Apostle Paul, and he's writing to the Philippians church. He's talking to the people of Philippi. And he starts out saying all these good things. He's saying, grace be unto you. I thank God for you. I pray for you. I make requests with joy for you. I enjoy fellowship with you. So he's saying all these good things. And you see the pureness of his heart and how he has a heart for these people. See, when someone is good-hearted, of course, and they have a pureness of their heart, they care about you and your heart and your well-being. So he's showing his heart for these people. And so he says in verse 6, being confident of this very thing, that he which had begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. So he starts out saying being confident. There's this confident word again. And confident is like an opposite to insecurity, because insecurities bring doubt and fear and things like that. But confidence and faith cancels that out, right? So he's saying being confident of this very thing, and he's talking about God performing this good work in you. Listen, God has to finish working on you in some ways, because when he gets done working on you, he can complete works that he started in you. And when he finishes these works in you, he can better effectively work through you to help and bless others. Now, insecurity, fear, doubt, these are things to be worked on, so that he can finish works in you, so he can more effectively work through you. But here's the thing. If you stay attached to people who play off your insecurities, keep you feeling insecure, keep you feeling down, keep you feeling pressed and paranoid and full of doubt and fear and all these other negative feelings, you will continuously have to be worked on. And if you continuously have to be worked on, it makes it hard to finish things in you so that things can be worked out through you. So that's what the enemy is banking on. He's banking on you staying attached to these wrong people so that God does not finish what he started in you. But God is determined to finish what he started. His word shall not go back to him void. It's going to fulfill what it was sent out to do. It will not fall to the ground. It will not fall short. He wants to finish the work. So what it comes down to is these people, or that person, that host, it's important that the tie is cut. Like is in when people talk about soul ties, it's important that the tie is cut. It's important for the detaching process. It's important, because if not, it'll be a battle, if you will, a battle of the idols, because it's like you're making that person an idol in your life, and you're giving them more of you than what you're giving to God. And it's almost as if you're going to try to make God compete for who is doing the most work in you, God or the host. See what I'm saying? So in order for you to be the most effective, you've got to finish letting God work on you, but you have to detach so that you can be healed from the insecurities and the hurts and the doubts and all these wounds. So it's important. And so when you get around the right people who are good-hearted, who care about you, they are confident, like how he's confident here, Apostle Paul is confident. And what happens is, just like how those insecure people played off your insecurities and made you more insecure, when you get around the right people who have the good, pure hearts and are confident, their confidence will rub off on you. So they will boost up your confidence because of their confidence. Hurt people. Insecure people play off of other people's insecurities and make them more insecure. But confident people can boost up the confidence of others. So not only are you transitioning how you think, how you feel in your heart, your desires, but you get with the right people who push you forward and push you upward instead of pulling you back and pushing you down. So it's not even just a change of life and a change of heart, but even a change, it can be a change of the people that you're around. And that's a good thing. And maybe you see that. Maybe you see God putting you around people who have your best interest at heart, the best interest at heart about you. So look at this, verse 7. Even as it is meet for me to think this of you all, because I have you in my heart. So he's showing, I've got you in my heart, and I'm being good-hearted about this. This is what that made me think of when he said, I have y'all in my heart. Look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, and this is it. I'll wrap this up. Jesus is speaking, and he says this, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. Now, I got to thinking, and this is what came to me. Your heart is where your treasure is. Okay. So you could say that your chest, and y'all know I'm big on puns and having like a play on words. You could say that your chest is a treasure chest, right? Because if your literal heart is in your chest and your treasure is where your heart is, and your heart's in your chest, your treasure is in your chest. So your chest is like a treasure chest, right? And when that came to my mind, I thought of pirates. And now y'all are going to see why it's called Pirates of the Caribbean. It made me think of pirates. Because pirates oftentimes are looking for treasure, hidden treasure. So in the cartoons or in movies, you have these pirates. They're in these boats. Arr, right? They got the eye patch on, the cool hats, the swords. Anyway, so they're searching for hidden treasure. And they always have a treasure map. And the map is going to show them where the hidden treasure is. And they get up on some land, and they're up on the sand, and they're digging, and they find this box. And usually it's like made of wood or some type of material. And it's a cube-shaped box. Sometimes it's cube all the way with a flat top, and sometimes the top might be round. But either way, it's got this top that has to be open, and usually there's a keyhole where you got to have an old-fashioned huge key to stick in there and open it up. And they open up the top, and they look down in it, and there's all these gold coins and currencies for different lands and expensive jewelry, but they've got the treasure, right? In other words, they got some money. They got wealth. And a lot of times they call it treasure, hidden treasure, right? But then this came to me, and it's this. Sometimes pirates, and some of you may have noticed this, and maybe you don't know this, but sometimes some pirates will call treasure booty. I kid you not. Look into it. They call it the booty. B-O-O-T-Y. Similar to how we today talk about somebody's butt. You know how sometimes guys, they look at a girl, they think she's got a nice butt, they call it a booty. Ooh, look at that fine booty, right? Okay. So bear with me. They call it the booty. Sometimes, or a lot of pirates, they call the treasure, but sometimes certain pirates call this money or these coins or whatever, they call it the booty. We want the booty. That's what they say, really. So then when I thought of that, something hit me, and it was this. Some people want what's in your heart. They care about your heart. They're seeking your heart and what's good for you in your heart, right? Or some people get attached to you because they want the booty. They're concerned about your booty. Here, let me put it to you this way. Some people, because, treasure in the heart, some people know that your treasure, what makes you such a treasure, is what's in your heart. And that's what matters to them, is your heart. What's good for you. Your treasure is such your heart is such a treasure to them. They love your heart. You got such a good heart. You got such a big heart. They see that that's treasure and they adore it. But there are some people who, they're not worried about what's in here. They're worried about what's down here. They're worried about your booty. In other words, some people get close to you because they really care about you and your heart. Some people get with you because they want some tail. Oh, goodness. Some people want a relationship because they really love you. They have love in their heart for you and they care about your heart. That's the treasure they're after. But for some people, the thing that they treasure is your booty. In other words, they care only about your physical body, but they don't care about what's going on in your heart. So when people get close to you, just look at them as pirates. And you got to understand that some people, they care about you. They treasure your heart. But some people, because their heart's not pure and they've got hidden things in their heart, hidden desires, they have hidden agendas that come out of their heart. So all they're concerned about is your body and your booty. So now you see why I call this Pirates of the Caribooty. Not Caribbean, the Caribooty. You gotta watch out for the Pirates of Caribooty. They're the host. They want to host a TV show with you, and you don't even know you're on the show until it's too late. So be careful, guys. Be careful. Watch out for the Pirates of Caribooty. You got to watch out for when you see the warning signs. Don't play dumb. Don't go against your greater discernment. Don't let insecurities get to you and say, well, let me hold on to them. Let me keep them around because, maybe they'll come around. Maybe they'll see the goodness in me. Maybe they'll start doing me right. Maybe they won't try to take advantage of me. Maybe they won't, mess with me about my insecurities and try to play off my insecurities and try to make me feel jealous or mad or angry or upset to try to get the best of me. No. Those are the Pirates of Caribooty, okay? So, you know what I said. Speak the right things over your life. Say it. I will not have fear. I will not be insecure. I will not be timid. I will not this. I will not that. Speak this over yourself, over your heart, over your life, over your mind. Renew your mind with the word. And seek God. Replace the desires and the seeking after of these people that want to hurt you, and replace it with seeking after God. Seek after him. Seek after him with your heart. And when he has your whole heart, that's what's going to help draw the right people. It's going to draw the right people. The pirates that are after the treasure that is your heart, not the pirates of the Caribooty. In other words, not the pirates that only care about the booty. Get it? Caribooty. So now you got it. All right. I got the message out there. I had fun with this one. I knew I was going to. Enjoyed this one. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope it was a blessing to you. So if you know somebody that needs this, send this video their way. And that's about it, guys. Got to wrap this up. Heavenly Father, I thank you for another time to minister another word. I've enjoyed this message. It's been a blessing to me, even though I'm ministering it. But Lord, I pray that it blesses those who tune in to listen. Lord, let your people not have fear, insecurities, doubts. Let us be a people of faith and boldness and courage and confidence, Lord. Let us be a people that pursues you first. Let us be a people that seek first the kingdom of God and your righteousness, knowing that everything else shall be added unto us, not only the things that we need, but sometimes even the desires of our hearts. And when people see the awesomeness of our hearts, we will attract the right pirates, not the pirates that carry booty. Lord, I give you all the praise, the glory, and the honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.